Before we put the rails onto the seat pan, we're going to talk about these switch holes for a quick minute. These holes are designed to accept Toyota style cube switches. These come in a huge variety. We got microphone pass-through, USB-C, rock light switch. There's two of them at the front of the seat. So if you're out of room in your dash for switches, you got options down there. If you don't want to put any switches down there, we've got plugs to fill the holes for the time being. And on the side of the storage box, we have this hole, which is sized to fit a Blue Sea style USB charger. If you're not going to do that, we also include a plug for this hole. All right, we're ready to put the rails on. Okay, so we did the math. We figured out we need 2 washers per side. So the washers go on these pins at the rear. Springs go right on top of them. And this is best done with the seat as flat as possible so everything kind of stays put. Now, a couple things are going to happen as we put these on. We need to hook these horns into these holes at the rear, and then sort of tip the rail down onto the pan. These horns act as a safety measure in case of an extreme accident. The sensor bolts shear. The pan will hold on to these before it tries to escape the vehicle. We did that in order to mimic Toyota's original design, which had a safety catch around these horns. The other thing we're going to look at as we put these rails on is the seatbelt harness is going to go up and over the rail. Now, these springs need to land on a rivet on top of the sensor, so make sure that they're landing in a good spot. Now we're going to put in the sensor bolts. These are M6 by 16. They're all going to get washers, a little bit of Loctite. Let's start at the rear because it's easiest to get to. Once these 2 rear bolts are in, we're going to double check that our springs are in the right spot. There we go. The front sensor bolts are easiest to put in through the holes we left open in the front brackets. So I'm going to put this M4 ball end through there, place the sensor bolt onto it. So our front sensor bolts aren't quite lining up. So what we're going to do is loosen the bolts at the rear sensor and try to wiggle a little bit more room. a try. Right. Got that in. Do the last sensor bolt. Alright, once these are in, we're going to snug them up, but not torque them yet. Alright, we're going to retorque the rear sensor bolts. Now we're going to torque the sensor bolt the front left, and once we do, we're going to fill in the hole in the front bracket. Once the seat is in the truck, you won't be able to access this corner, so we're going to start with that. And this is getting torqued to 8 foot-pounds or 96 inch-pounds. Then we're going to fill in that hole with an M8 by 20 bolt with a washer, another washer and a nut, some Loctite. And we'll torque this one to 18 foot-pounds. The last step before putting this thing in the truck is to install the occupancy sensor computer and harness and get everything plugged back in and mounted. Okay. We're going to prepare this harness for the install by cutting all the taped sections. And removing these plastic mounts. We won't be reusing those. All right, that's looking better. We're going to put the sensor computer mount, goes right on the back of the box with two M6x10 bolts and washers. And we'll torque those to 8 foot-pounds or 96 inch-pounds. Okay, torquing these to 8 foot-pounds. The computer is going to go into the mount. Plug this connector back onto it. Just like that. Now we match up our sensors with our numbers from earlier. So that's number 3. That's number 1. That's number 4. And that's number 2. All right, this is the floor connector. This one's going to go on the upper prong of this harness mount. This is the factory heat adapter. This guy plugs into that. We need to pull this off. Pick tool gets that off. It's going to go right there. This is the factory heat adapter harness connector. It's going to go on the upper mount of this harness mount. These are the Klima extension wires we put on earlier. We're just going to leave those run wild for right now until we get it in the truck and get everything connected. This is our seatbelt connector. Plug that in there. Take that guy off. Now we're going to get some zip ties and secure all this so it's up out of the way. So we're going to start zip tying these up. We got holes across the bottom of this for the sensor harness. Helps if you bend them into a U shape though. And last but not least, we're going to install the airbag proxy. Let's go that last prong right there. And this seat is ready to go back in the truck.